Paul, is it the end of the world as we know it?
No, I think it's in our hands. As you say, we have instincts, we have technology. The instincts drive us in a particular direction and always will do. The technology we can choose to apply to limit our fertility or not. We certainly will. I don't think anyone's calling for couples in the Western world to have 6 or 7 children, and it's very good that we're helping people control their fertility in much of the developing world where it is too high and it needs to come down. But in countries from Britain to Japan to Korea, where the fertility rate is even lower than in Japan, it's really up to people, it's up to us. And I'm not inclined to say, let's open our beaks, as you put it, and wait for the government to fill them with subsidies. And of course, there are things that governments can do, and perhaps we'll discuss those. Governments can make a difference on the margin, but ultimately it's down to all of us.
So it's a fundamental change within us.
I think it's cultural. I think it's about belief. It's about confidence in the future. It's about wishing to see yourself, your people, your nation, your community, ultimately humanity go on. And that is something which I think is pretty natural. Having said that, there are some tendencies against that. There are some pretty misanthropic tendencies out there which I think need to be combated. So when I say it's about culture and about belief, I think these are real things that we need to argue about and talk about and push back against.
You're sounding dangerously spiritual here. You know, this misanthropy and then this idea that we need to hope and have more optimism. There does seem to be a dearth of optimism in society at large at the moment, you know, especially with all the terrible news that people have been confronted with time and time again. Do you think there is a spiritual space for hope, the opposite of misanthropy?
Well, I think there are philosophical reasons for having children. There are reasons that religious people may offer. There are reasons that humanists might offer. But I think we can't rely on those because they are so debatable. I think what we have to rely on is the practical story that without the next generation of people, the robots are not coming over the horizon to our assistance, that we are going to still need labour, we're going to need people to fill the petrol stations, we're going to need people to be at the airports to deliver our suitcases, we're going to need people in the old age homes looking after our parents and then after us. We have a need for labour. And I think it's incredibly arrogant to say that we're too busy, too inconvenienced, too important to produce that labour ourselves, and that either we will just import it and skim off the best and brightest from the wider world, or wait in the vain hope that technology is going to come and sort it out for us, or indeed expect other people to provide it. I mean, if you have environmental objections to having more children, you will still consume that labour. You're still going to be in the supermarket, you're still going to be in the petrol station, you're still going to be in the airport, and ultimately, one hopes, in the old age home or requiring someone to look after you. So all you're saying, if you won't have children for environmental reasons, is I will consume labour. I'm just not going to produce it myself.
Which is, so if we've got on one side misanthropy, on the other side hope and need, in the middle we have hypocrisy, which is what this generation is filled with. And so these people must realise that when they say you're going to kill the planet if you don't breed, they must know that's a factually incorrect statement. They're just going to destroy their own nation. Is there an active, positive desire to kill nations more broadly?
Well, I don't want to tar a whole generation with hypocrisy. There are hypocrites in every generation.
Well, their main spokespeople are massively hypocritical. COP26, 27, all of these environmental conflicts, all these people tapping away on their little lithium-batteried iPhones are saying the same thing on social media.
Yes, and at a higher level, arriving at Davos with their private jets.
Yeah, on 250 grand a week to have a nice, expensive prostitute.
So it's not really for you or me, I think, to attribute hypocrisy or a psychological condition to these people.
Who is it to?
I think it's for us. Well, what should we be doing? We should be challenging them, questioning them, pointing out the inconsistencies rather than the hypocrisy.
But they just call you a racist for doing that.
Well, I don't think you can call someone a racist for saying that in multicultural Britain today, all communities need to have more children. My mother was born overseas. About a third of mums giving birth in the UK today are born overseas. If you call for Britain as a whole, or Germany, or France, or indeed China, or Japan, or Korea, for the people there to have more children, you're not necessarily calling for more white babies. I think the racial issue is a complete red herring.